The other thing was Dr. Jill Espenshade wrote a book about a year and a half ago on Cal Safety. And she found that their methodology for doing these investigations was completely flawed. And that really they're representing the corporations when they do these investigations. There's absolutely no legitimacy. So this went over like a lead balloon. Now Coca-Cola is claiming, just before last year's annual meeting, we have the prestigious International Labor Organization of the United Nations has decided to come in here and do a complete independent investigation, completely in their control, of the present and past labor practices of the Coca-Cola Company. And if you have any questions about this, contact Ms. Sally Paxton at the ILO. Now this was last March, about a year ago. I called Sally Paxton at the ILO over in Geneva. And I said, Ms. Paxton, I want to find out what the methodology is going to be used. I know that this is a contentious issue here in the US and around the world. Coca-Cola is blah, 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 blah. And I said, so I want to find out some information on the investigation that the ILO is doing. And as soon as I mentioned the word investigation, she says, Mr. Rogers, we're not doing an investigation. I said, what are you doing? Well, we might do an assessment of current enterprises in Colombia. I said, well, you're going to be doing, I understand, but an investigation of past and present labor practices of the Coca-Cola bottles in Colombia and the role the Coca-Cola Company is playing in complicity of these potential human rights abuses. No, Mr. Rogers, please don't use the word investigation again. We are not doing an investigation. And we are not doing any assessment of any kind about past and present labor practices. Okay, Ms. Paxton. Now, Coca-Cola keeps promoting that, in fact, the ILO is. So I go to the annual meeting and I raise the issue with the CEO. And the CEO says, well, I don't know who Ms. Paxton is, but let me tell you that we have a document signed by the ILO that they are going to do this independent investigation of past and present labor practices. Nobody can seem to come up with that document. Now here we are about a year later. And what is Coca-Cola saying now? Well, the reason this so-called, quote, independent investigation hasn't taken place is because the ILO is preparing to set up an office in Colombia. So a couple of weeks ago I called up the ILO again, and a couple of the top people up there, and I said, didn't say anything about Coke, I simply said, when are you going to open up an office in Colombia? When is that going to be open? And the response was, we're not opening up an office in Colombia. Okay, you sure you're not opening up? I can tell you right now, I know if there was an office being opened in Colombia. So then I called Miss Sally Paxton's replacement, who replaced Sally Paxton, left about 10 months ago. And I said, look, this is what Miss Paxton told me. I just wanted to find out because I understand there was something moving forward. The woman said to me, I think Miss Paxton, gave you the right information. We don't really do investigations of companies. We try to work something out with countries to try to protect labor rights. You see, the other thing is that the guy who was the head of global labor relations for the Coca-Cola Company, who was brought in to try to do damage control with our campaign, a guy by the name of Ed Potter, let that name stick out in your mind if he's ever up here. He plays a very big role within the ILO. The ILO is a tripartite organization. It has 28 government representatives, 14 representing business and 14 representing labor. It really should be called the International Organization of Governments and Business to make sure labor stays in its place. And he has been in a role, playing a big role, heading up this business group within the ILO. He knows that there can be no unbiased investigation with him watching over it. Okay, he knows that, I can tell you now, with Coca-Cola's connections with the UN, the fact that they have made awards to top leaders within the United Nations, including Kofi Annan, who I think recently stepped down, $50,000 awards for the good work that they've all done. Coca-Cola is so tied into the UN and so linked to the ILO with personnel and money, this cannot be an independent investigation. Human Rights Watch, groups like that, religious organizations, other groups, they could be an independent investigation. They can't do it. This is a bogus PR scam.